Welcome to Healing Rain. I'm Sue Detweiler, your host, and this show is for you if you are for healing, freedom, and wholeness. Well, today on Healing Rain, I have my friend Dani Williamson, and I'm so proud of her. She wrote this book, Wild and Well. She is a family nurse practitioner and founder of Family Integrative Medicine in Nashville, Tennessee. And for me personally, she has been one of my first people on my healing team that really helped me have a breakthrough in my health. Welcome to part 2 of my interview with Dani Williamson. We begin by talking about divine health and how to walk in fullness and vitality. I think God's so good, and He will show us in this world and in this time how to
Absolutely.
walk in divine health. And He does miracles all the time, like the miracle of healing my thyroid. But He
That's right.
also gives us wisdom of how to walk in and how to extend your life, how to be vigorous and filled with vitality. And I think that's something that everybody wants.
Absolutely. We all want to be optimal. And many people don't know how because they go to their healthcare provider and they say, well, your labs look completely normal. You just need to eat better and exercise. Well, that's not true. I mean, you do need to eat better and you do need to move
But
your
they don't
body, but
define what that is.
no, they do not. And, I tell patients every day, if you have a family practice doctor or a specialist or an internal medicine doctor who doesn't listen to you, who doesn't hear you say, I have to go back to bed when I put the kids on the bus, or I cannot even get out of bed in the morning, or I'm not sleeping at night at all, or whatever it is. I've gained 12 pounds in 6 weeks and I haven't changed anything. If they are just holding your hand, patting your hand and saying everything looks good, let's here's the psychiatrist number. Maybe you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need a new healthcare provider
Mm-hmm.
because you have a provider who is not working for you, and you have the right to call and have your records transferred and say, I'm finding someone who wants to walk this journey with me.
Mm-hmm.
And people
That
feel
that we
guilty.
can go to the root and get
You bet.
fully healed and do the
You
work of
bet.
it. And mine has not been a quick journey in any way, but it's been a really good journey. And the healing, when you try to get the healing from the inside out, it's not
Yes,
necessarily about how you look on the outside.
that's right.
You know what I mean? That comes eventually, but sometimes when you're cleansing your body, you can actually get worse before you get better. In the
Absolutely.
fact that, I know when I began with you and Elizabeth, I mean, I started to have all sorts of rashes and, the stuff that had been stuck in my intestines,
That's right.
and it has been a very, very difficult journey. Um, Not fast, but it's also been transformative.
Hmm.
And it's built so much compassion in me. Dani, just like I'm so excited about your book, you are going to love the book I just turned into Chosen. You are
I
going to
can't wait.
love it because really what you were talking about in the beginning about the trauma that you had in your life, there's got to be ways that we look at God's healing body, mind, soul, spirit, and that we create pathways for people to get free in terms of from the inside out. And you can't do that without addressing trauma
That's
or
right.
addressing pain or dealing with bitterness,
Mhm.
all of those things. And so, what you're going to love about Healing Rain is that I tell a whole bunch of stories of people that have found God's healing through a variety of ways, but also I create pathways for people to get free.
Oh, I can't wait.
I
I
know you're
can't
going to love
wait.
it. I
It's going
know.
to change so many people's lives. And again, it's about hope. right? You got to
It
have some people. So
is.
many people have lost hope, but
Yeah.
you also need a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. So you got to have a strategy, and that's fantastic. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, we are designed to heal. Our body's designed to heal itself, but you've got to give it what it needs. And I'm
Mhm.
proof, you're proof, we are all proof that have done this, that it happens. And it's not fast. It's not fast. Sometimes
No.
it is. Sometimes it's just like my patient there on the text message, 7 days with it.
Mhm.
And she went cold, I mean, hardcore, right?
Mhm.
For the first time ever, cut it out 100%, and boom, she can kneel. She can move around. I'm so excited. But diet is key, but sleep is so important. You've got to
Oh,
eat
it
well, you have to
is.
sleep well. And again,
Yes.
diet's at the top, but I think sleep is right there with it. And the older I get, the more I realize that. And so again, I've shifted a few things in my thinking clinically, because if you can't sleep at
Mhm.
night, your body heals when you sleep. So many people don't sleep. So many women, when they go through menopause, stop sleeping well. And it's not about, if you've gotten to the sleep well chapter yet, you will learn it's not about sleeping all night. I've learned this as I've researched more and as I've gone through menopause. It's how you feel in the morning when you get up. In the past, before we had lights and computers and all this, before we had lights, period, people
Mhm.
slept. It was called segmented sleep, first and second sleep. They'd sleep 4 or 5 hours. They'd wake up. They would read the Bible. They would cook or start the fire, whatever they do, have sex. I mean, there's a million things probably they did for thousands of years, right? And then they would go back to sleep and wake up when the sun came up. That's first and second sleep. That all of those references about that started to disappear when we started with lights. And that's when insomnia started getting, more
Because
and more.
people get up and grab the phone, and the
You bet.
first thing, sleep
You
with the
bet.
phone next to them. Yesterday I heard the Lord just, I love it when God speaks to you,
Yes.
but you have to turn aside and you have to kind of listen and journal, and one of the things that he's calling me to do is to view time differently. That when 6 o'clock comes about, Hebraically, the evening is when the day started, you know,
Mhm.
in the Hebrew, it was evening, then morning. So to view the beginning of my day at 6 o'clock, and how, I'm cutting out TV, it goes off at that point. I'm setting my phone aside. I'm reading books. There's certain things that, in the same way, there's like a narrow path that he has me on in the evenings, and my husband and I talked about it, and I mean, we've had these things in our lives before, but there are just some more lines that I just heard the Lord calling to draw, and his boundaries are in pleasant places, and the insidiousness of our phones and the
Uh-huh.
brightness of it, the addictive nature of it,
Mhm.
and how what it's doing is it's creating this thing where people are missing listening to God
You bet.
at night and in the morning.
You bet. You bet. There's a documentary called Social Dilemma, which will infuriate you on the phone, the computer,
And
and what
that
it's done,
impacts our
what it
sleep,
was
doesn't it?
designed. You bet it
Don't
does.
you
You sleep
think?
with your phone. If you sleep with your phone, and I have all this in the sleep well chapter, you are disrupting your circadian rhythm unbelievably. And your phone needs to be on airplane mode, unplugged, not charging near you. Distance is your friend when it comes to electromagnetic fields. The bed is for sleep and sex only. There's no TV, no computer, no cell phone, no nothing going on in there other than those two things. And um, that phone beside your bed, that phone, those teenagers who sleep with that phone under their pillow beside their head, it is absolutely devastating to their health. And you're not going to sleep as well. But also sleeping on a sleep number bed, sleeping on an electric minefield. right? It's all electricity. So when it's plugged in, I have patients who slept pretty well and then they got an electric bed. They're literally sleeping on electricity. Well, you can't sleep on electricity very well. So what we recommend is you set it where you need it, right? Because they move and that's why everybody likes it. And then you unplug it. And once you unplug it, you don't have that electrical current going through your body. It's very fascinating. Sleep is key. Your bedroom needs to be clean. It needs to be a sanctuary. You don't need a cluttered bedroom, right? You need a sleep hygiene habit of winding down, like what you're doing is turning off the TV and the phones and reading as the sun goes down. You need to go outside. God designed the morning and the evening. A good morning sets you up for an incredible evening outside, feet to the earth, face to the sun. Same thing in the evening. The colors
a
of
good
the
evening will set you up for a good morning too.
You bet it will. It works just like that. The colors of that sun going down ignite those rods and cones in your eyes and set your circadian rhythm, and your melatonin goes up as the day goes on. In a perfect world, but we've messed up melatonin production a lot with computers and TVs and things and lights. So it's very important. The eating well and sleeping well are key. We have ways to help you sleep. There's lots of ideas in there. Maybe you need now, maybe you have sleep apnea and you're snoring, or maybe your partner does, you know, your husband over there or your wife, and they need a CPAP. Maybe you need to be in separate bedrooms. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I am telling you right now, many husbands and wives, their entire marriages turn around when they separate bedrooms because they can't sleep together. I'm not joking.
And for the younger listeners that cannot imagine this, aging, there are changes in aging, and sleep is just really important.
You bet. Yeah. And then they come together when they need to, because it's real important. And in the morning, everyone is in a better mood. I mean, it's huge. And so sleep is important. You got to eat well. You got to sleep well. You got to move well. God designed this body to be moved, to be pushed and pulled and tugged and to move. You don't have to go to CrossFit or HIIT training. I don't care what you do, hula hoop, rollerblade, ballroom dance, right? Ice skate. I don't care. Move your body. Yeah. We have to move. You know,
my day started early because I've had back-to-back interviews, but I got 6 miles in before I got started today.
There you go. The research is clear on women with exercise. If you exercise in the morning before your day gets going, your metabolism speeds up about 13 hours. Plus you burn more calories and you're just more alert. And, people are like, well, I can't get up that early.
Yeah, and spiritually, I believe too, because, when you're exercising, for me, I'm also, listening to either podcast or worship, but there's a real spiritual dynamic of hearing God, with the exercise and with the rhythm. And I think it's so important. And the reason I keep saying that is I think people are not listening to God. No. They're just not listening to his voice and, and being enveloped. My mother is a role model for me. She's 85.
Oh, she's amazing.
She can drive. She's so alert. She's intelligent. She works out every day and works out hard. But she also says out of her mouth, I walk in divine health, just this bold, I walk in divine health. But if you go and every evening and every morning and you stay overnight at our house, it'll probably be around 4:30 in the morning. You'll hear her up praying in tongues, and she's probably praying for you. You'll hear her worshiping. You'll hear, and there would be times that I'd go, she lives with us now in our suite, but has her own suite upstairs. But at times I remember younger in life, I would see her in the morning, and this is what she'd say: I'm basking in his presence. And I mean, there'd be this joyful I want to say radiance, like beautiful, glorious, a brilliance about her face, because literally she had gone to bed in God's presence and was then waking up basking in his presence. And I think there's a generation that doesn't realize that God has this for them. And,
Mhm.
and all of us at any age, we all need to be reminded of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, she's a real gem.
She's the real
She's
deal.
something. I'm telling you,
I
she
know.
is the real deal.
Yeah, she
So
is.
step 4 for me: eat well, sleep well, move well. These are all things I talk about, in
Yeah.
the book, but with my patients every day. I ask them all the time: eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well. It's just a fact. We've got to. And people who tell you, doctors who tell you, oh, it's fine, twice a week is fine. No, it's not. It's not at all. You're so constipated. If you only go to the bathroom twice a week, what you eat today should be eliminated by tomorrow, right? It's one big tube from the mouth to the anus. It should be gone. We don't chew our food enough. We bloat, we gas, we gurgle, and we need to go to the bathroom. And I have an entire chapter on how to get that happening.
Yeah, and
We're
even I
dehydrated.
liked your little pictures about this is healthy. I mean, you have made it darn practical. I love
Well,
it.
it is. And that's what I wanted it. Like, just common sense. Here's what a good poop looks like, right? This is
Mhm.
it. I know. And people don't. They don't go to the bathroom. So you should poop like your dog. They eat and they go. That's how we do. I mean, that's a healthy gut, right? And so maybe you need some magnesium, maybe you need a good probiotic, maybe you just need to drink your water. Number one reason for constipation is dehydration. Well,
Mhm.
Coke,
Mhm.
don't ever drink a Coke again, a soda, a Diet Coke. I mean, it's killing you. It is killing you, and it's dehydrating you. We could have a whole show
Let
on
me
Coke
ask you, what do
dehydration.
you think about Crystal Light?
Well, I think there's worse things. I don't
Mhm.
think it's the best in the world, really, but
Mhm.
I'd have to look at the ingredients again on it and see. I
Mhm.
don't know if there's anything artificial in it, actually.
It's
I know there
stevia.
used to be. Yeah, well, and stevia, that's a plant. So I think there's probably worse things. For sure, a Diet Coke, a Diet Dr. Pepper, a Coke in general, a Monster, a Red Bull, don't do it. Those are all dehydrating. And if you drink coffee, you have to drink an extra 8
Yeah.
ounces for 8 ounces of coffee, right?
You know, I cut all coffee out because of CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And so I like some caffeine in the morning. So
yes.
I am doing Crystal Light.
Okay.
And it's like a caffeine source that's helpful to me.
Okay.
And I knew I had to cut out coffee. So, I mean, it's a question. I couldn't think of anything else that would be more healthy.
I wonder about matcha, organic matcha. Oh, I know it's healthy and it's great for you. And it's great. It's green tea. It's a baby green tea leaves. It's organic matcha. I can send you.
You know
I
what?
can't.
I could also just plain do matcha pills. I don't like the taste of matcha.
Oh, you don't? I
Not
like it with a
really.
little bit of almond milk or oat milk in it. And
Yeah, I don't like it as much, but I could do that just in
yes.
capsule form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think there's worse things in Crystal Light. Okay. So again, we can't put ourselves in a hole over here and we can't get so rigid, but we also have to know. But so going to the bathroom is key. Maybe you need magnesium, a little bit of magnesium glycinate chelate.
Magnesium
It's
made
a game
such a
changer.
difference in my life.
Bet it did. 80% of depressed patients have a magnesium deficiency. Now, you got to know what magnesium to buy, because you don't want oxide or citrate if you're not constipated, right? Because those will give you raging diarrhea. Glycinate, chelate, malate, threonate, those are
As
all
well as
incredible.
Epsom salt baths.
One of my favorites, I was just going to say Epsom salt when I was going to talk about de-stressing. Well, Epsom salt baths are one of my favorites, and that's
That's a
magnesium.
daily part of my life now.
You bet. I love it.
Yeah,
I
I
love
do
it.
too.
So eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well. Very, 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 very important. De-stress well. Stress is killing us. The last 2.5 years have just taken the stress level to just to the stratosphere. And you know, we can't pour from an empty vessel, Eleanor Brown says, and the beauty of filling your vessel up and putting your oxygen mask on first is not so you can help everyone else, right? It's so that you're 150% because you're worthy, because Jesus said you're worthy to be 150%. You're worthy to be happy and whole. When you are, it's the trickle down effect that affects everyone else. We as women are not technically the head of the household. Now, I've not been married in 20 years, so I'm the head over here. But as a rule, we're not the head of the household, but we set the moral tone for that house.
Yes,
and as
do.
women, we are exhausted. There is no margin in our life. We have no room for error, no breathing room. And the second we walk in the door, we set the tone. Our entire family picks up on our mood. And shame on us as women that continue, those of us, and I'm one of them, continue to be overcommitted. You don't have to say yes to everything. Lisa Turkis wrote a book that's one of my favorites, The Best Yes, right?
Yeah.
You have the right to set your boundaries, to say no. Jesus set his boundaries. He got away when he needed to. He put some water right between them, put some space between him and his people. Why don't we? If Jesus had to, why in the world would you think you don't have to have some breathing room? Set your life up so that you don't have to escape from it, so that you don't have to have all the self-care days and all that. Set your self-care into your world.
Yes.
Maybe you need to quit your job. Maybe you need to set your boundaries with your parents or your friends or your husband. I mean, I don't know what it looks like for you, but what I do know is you have the right to live the life that you were designed to live. You don't have to be the room mother every year. You don't have to be the chairman. You have the right to say I can't do it. Because when you set some margin in your life, your family and your children, everyone is happier. And so are you.
And you're going to live longer too.
You bet you are, because stress.
You're going to live longer. Stress will kill you.
It takes decades off of your life. And you automate, you AED your life. Michael Hyatt taught me this. Automate, eliminate, and delegate everything you can in your life. And when you do that and you step back, you really have your nose and your hands and your head in so much more than you need to be involved in. You don't miss it because you've got some margin. And when you have margin, man, you get to listen to God, don't you?
And you have a wealthy life, wealthy, fulfilled, purposeful life.
And it took me into my 5th decade to begin to realize this. So this is not something that comes easy, especially as women. We're go-getters, right? And we do it all and then we get angry about it. Well, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
You got to step back.
You can do all that God's called you to do in your life, but not all at the same time.
No.
Women in particular, we've got to embrace those seasons. Dani, I remembered something recently. It was a word from the Lord when I was fasting and praying about whether I was to homeschool my children. And I clearly heard the Lord say, it was like this boom. If you lay your life down for your children and homeschool them, not only will I send you to the nations, I'll send your children to the nations as well. And when I was raising our children, like Angela, by the time she was 20, had been to 10 nations, so they were traveling. Well, now they are having babies, and it just clicked in my mind. I'll probably the plan is by strategic prayer, 10 nations this year. And when you think about that God had spoke to me way back then, and what a difference it made in my children's lives. And now they're pouring it into my grandchildren, and they're making good choices. And so for women that are raising children, there's got to be a lot of no's so that you can say the main yes, because that time it passes. You
You
don't
bet.
think it ever will, but it changes. And
You bet.
I made so many choices. I said no to job opportunities. I said no to lots of opportunities. I don't regret a one of them.
Oh, absolutely. You never will.
No.
You listened. You
Yeah.
listen.
But you have to listen to God, and you got to
That's what I'm
create
saying.
that
You listen.
margin to
Margin.
hear his
Margin.
voice.
If you don't hear anything, your listeners today, set some margin. Again, it's all important. All the steps I think that I work on with people is important. But guess what? If there's no margin, you're not going
You
to sleep. You're
can't
not
do
going to
it.
eat. You're not going to move. You're definitely not going to go to the bathroom. So eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, commune well. It's key.
Mhm.
If we haven't learned anything the last 2.5 years during COVID, community is key. I sit on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Tennessee. Phone calls to suicide crisis lines went up 800% during the pandemic. Phone calls to domestic violence lines went down almost that much because they were stuck in the home.
Interesting.
Well, they were stuck in the home with their abuser. They're not calling domestic violence lines when their abuser's right there. We are in a mental health pandemic right now like we've never seen. We are not designed to socially isolate. No such thing as social isolation. You can't socialize and isolate. We are designed for community. And like you and I were talking the other day, Jesus had the best community. He had the most flawed, messed up community around him, humans just like us, but they were his tribe. They were his people. I don't care what it takes. You need to cultivate community. You don't need sequoias. Sequoias don't have tons and tons of roots. They have big root systems. Oak trees don't have tons of roots. Doesn't take many people to hold a tree, to hold a big oak or a sequoia, but they're connected. And that's the key. And I intentionally cultivate friendships in my life and my community. I'm the cultivator. Somebody has to do it. It means nobody cares if your house is clean. Get them together, text them, do a group text of your girls and say, we're meeting up Thursday night. And, I don't know, we'll order pizza, bring a salad, well, whatever, we're doing it. Do it because you heal when you have community. When you laugh, your cortical levels go down. Your inflammatory markers go down.
Yes, they do.
Things like C-reactive protein and your white blood cell inflammation goes down. It's key. It's my 6th step, but it's definitely not the least step because it's all connected.
It is.
Physically, we got our physical health there, but then we have our emotional and our spiritual and our sexual and our mental and our communal health and financial health. That's your wellness.
Yeah. And when you find your people, you're able to fulfill your purpose.
Oh my goodness. My purpose is being fulfilled because I got my tribe, and I just, yes. And I smile just thinking about it, and the people that have been in my life through fire, and there's been fires because I talk about it in the book. Those are the solid rocks that have walked with me through fire. And when all the trauma and scandal was happening and things, they're the ones standing there. They're your people. And so cultivate your community. It's key. It doesn't, again, not much, but just do it. It doesn't take much.
Well, what are some closing words that you'd like to share with the Healing Rain community?
Some closing words. Well, what I work on every day is with women and men is that you're not broken. Always know that. You never were. You may have had a rough childhood like me. You could have had a leave it to Beaver, whatever, childhood, whatever. You could have, right? But you are not broken. Go back to the roots. If your joints hurt, if your head hurts, if you're tired, if you're bloated, if you can't go to the bathroom, if whatever, go back to the roots and figure out when was it you felt your best. And let's tease it out there, because your body wants to be 150%. If you're living at 25%, that's not where God wanted you to be. And it's not where you were born, most likely. Now, some people were. So I am living proof that whatever you turn on, you can turn off. And so can you. If a little girl from Western Kentucky with, who grew up eating poorly and felt crappy for 44 years can turn this around, you can as well. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're 85, like your mama, and she needed to feel better, I know how to help you feel better. So just know that there's help out there. Read a book, watch a podcast, watch documentaries. There's so much free education out there. And it doesn't take much. Just like my patient who texted me right here, 7 days of cutting those foods out. She can kneel, and she's getting ready to live her best life. She won't ever go back. So here's the thing. There's not enough gluten in the world to make me go back to how I felt 12 years ago. Not doing it. Yeah. And you can live the life you were designed to live. I know it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dani. I just honor you for being, you and Elizabeth, original members of my healing team, which, by the way, she just encouraged me to get platinum LED light therapy.
Yay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah.
Oh,
light
my goodness.
Therapy. It's good.
For some of you listening, we may sound like holistic nuts. You're like, what are you talking about? But I just want to look in your face if you're on the video portion or listen to my voice. And I just want to say, God's your healer, and he's given principles of divine healing. And he's the one that's created healthy whole foods. And he's given a pathway of health that is different than the addictive substances of the world. So I just want to encourage you, there may be one thing you have listened to and you're going to I'm going to turn that thing off. I'm going to move my phone away. Whatever it was that you felt God's voice, start with that one thing and just believe God to lead you. Listen to him, and he will show you for your life what those principles of divine health are.
That's right. That's right.
I love you.